All right, what to do, everybody? Just finished recording a video about Disney and some takes on conspiracy, and now I'm doing some PragerU for y'all. So I was, to pick out various different content and shit. I figure I'd delve into the PragerU side of things, and I haven't seen this video like whatsoever before. I just saw the title. I was like, oh god, this has to be good. So I think to at least kind of explain where I come from on this whole idea of white privilege, just kind of before we get into it, just initially. Hot take, but I don't believe in it. I don't believe in race privilege. And just overall, I don't believe in black privilege. I don't believe in white privilege. I don't believe in Asian, Japanese, Chinese, Taiwanese, or whatever the fuck. I don't believe in any type of racial privilege like that. I think it's fucking absurd. Do I think that there are privileges just as a concept? Sure, yeah. I think that is something worth discussing and where those might be, but is it based on race? No. Now, would I say that society at a point had privileges based on race? Sure. Maybe at a time. Like, for example, during like the early days before America fucking abolished slavery and shit, and even afterwards a little bit to a certain extent. Like, it was pretty obvious that there was a specific group, mainly rich white people, that, had way more privileges than pretty much anyone else. So, but the thing is, I kind of also put in the caveat of rich. See, that's because for me, I think privileges lie more so on wealth, not on race. And we see this, like, for me, at least I can see that all over the place. Like, where you see a lot of privilege based on wealth, but not on race. Now, that's pretty much where I'm at with it. Like, I don't think privilege is on race, it's based on wealth. And even then, it's not guaranteed or inherent with that. Like, like, to me, I think it's just very fucking complex, and it really just depends on what we're really fucking talking about when it comes to privilege. Like, when it comes like, I think there's, for me, at least, there's just an argument to be made for privilege, and generally, for me, it's like the more wealth you have, generally, the more privileges you're going to have. Like, let's say you're Michael Bloomberg. Well, you have the privilege to just basically buy your way into an election, right? That's a privilege, especially in our system. It shouldn't be, but it is. So, yeah, like, are there privileges? Sure. Is it based on race? No. Anyway, that's where I come with this. So I'm just interested to kind of see what PragerU, I guess, has to say about it. But I guess before we get right into it, I have a bowl loaded and ready to go. I figure we're going to need it, especially for PragerU. And, yeah, I mean, you know what? I'll give PragerU the benefit of the doubt. There might be one or two things in here that I might agree with. Who knows? I mean, PragerU is a propaganda piece of shit outlet, but, every now and then, broken clock right twice a day, am I right? So I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to be expecting from this video. I mean, evidently there's nothing going on here with like-dislike ratio besides just a bunch of people liking it. Oh my lord. They just have whatever. I didn't even realize they had this going on. Oh my god, they made it look like an actual university t-shirt. Oh. If you want to end racism, stop talking about it, Morgan Freeman. I think the context of that quote is slightly misconstrued. Just slightly. I don't disagree with it, though. But I don't think not talking about it will end it, but at least just not going the total authoritarianistic, we're going to, like, do the same what you did to us type of mentality, like revenge mentality type of. I don't think that's how you solve it. I think actually talking with people and having discussions and at least willing to hear their side to an extent. Like if, it's just like if they start peddling like, oh, we need to like erase this group because this and that, like then fuck them. But if they're just like, hey, I just have worries and fears about this particular type of thing, about, certain aspects of different cultural, ideas or whatever the fuck, I at least then I'm willing to listen, but fuck. I don't know. I feel like it's just slightly misconstrued, but whatever. Anyway, I didn't even start the video, so let's actually get into that and smoke our nice little weed.
Woke white people, I'd like to ask you a favor. Please stop asking for forgiveness for your white privilege.
Huh? Woke white people, stop asking for forgiveness for white privilege? Well, luckily I'm not, like... I just hate the way people use woke, honestly. Like, because woke people, like, people that are construed as woke, they're asleep as fuck, dude. Like, they're not woke. Like, I mean, I just hate how it's just used, but whatever, that's just me. But, like, I would consider myself woke if it wasn't for the general way society looks at woke people, I guess. And if that's the case, then call me asleep. But whatever. That's not pointed to me because I don't believe in these stupid things.
You're not fooling anybody. You're not helping black people or any other minority. And your public confessions don't make you look virtuous.
True. Yeah. Well, hey, there you go. See, there was something we agreed with at PragerU. All right, true. Yeah, just you being out there and being like, oh, look how I like love black people or this group of people or that group of people because, of what my aunt says. It's like, shut the fuck up. It's like, you're not fooling anyone. Quit being a virtue signaling bitch. It's like, if you genuinely like want to advocate for problems within, a certain group of people, like, a black community in the South or some shit, or just some poor impoverished community or whatever the fuck, you name it, just fill in the blank. Community X, like if you want to help community X actually do some work on, or at least, look as to how you could potentially solve those problems instead of just like, oh, look at me, I, advocate for these people. It's just like, well, if you do, then at least propose something at the very least. Be like, hey, I think maybe these type of ideas might help, maybe fixing these people, because granted, your influence might not be powerful enough to legitimately make, some systemic change or whatever the fuck. So that's why I say, at the very least, if you're going to talk about this shit, at least have some sort of a solution based on those type of, reasonings and your virtue. At least, when I, like, look at, like, a poor black community, I'm like, all right, well, why is that the case? Well, sure, there's, like, a lot of wealth and income inequality. Chances are with poverty comes a lot of crime. That just happens regardless of what fucking race or happens to be in that community or whatever the fuck. That just happens with poverty, more crime. And with those things, like, all right, well, why is there like more crime? Oh, is it because they're being arrested for non-violent drug offenses? Is it the fact that there's legitimately like people just going out and stealing shit to try to make an extra buck? What is it? And if these type of scenarios, then let's look at the root as to why those are the problems instead of just punishing these people more. You know what I mean? It's like, let's actually look at the root core problems as to why, these type of people, whether it's black people, just a poor community of mixed race people, of like white, black, whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, insert the group, but whatever the problems may be, instead of just being a virtuous peddling bullshitter, being like, oh, actually at least propose an idea maybe, so other people who may have some influence could potentially take on those ideas. I don't know. So yeah, I do agree with this overall. And they make you look disingenuous as part of the subtext. Yeah, it does. It really does. So yeah, so hey, like I said, broken clock right test today, right?
They make you look disingenuous, which is a really nice way of saying fake, phony, and fraudulent.
Yeah.
For starters, what is white privilege anyway? Because you're born with white skin, you have all these advantages that I don't have? Like what? Like you can get a mortgage loan that I can't get?
Well, It depends. Like, the thing is, when it comes to those specific things, like, oh, let's say that, I'm trying to get a job, like for me, depending on where I'm at, of course, like, or I live in Oregon, so when it comes to discrimination, there's straight out state laws that are like, you just can't fucking do it, so don't even try. Like, I mean, there's out, so, for me, it doesn't work. But let's say I lived in Arkansas or Kansas or some shit. I don't know, just picking a random state that, fair enough, does lean more conservative, right? Hence why I'm picking those states. Chances are, like, a company might be like, oh, well, we're going to, there is a John Tyler. All right, seems like a fairly, decent, well-off guy. And then we have a Jerome Johnson. It's just like, this Jerome fella, I don't know about, so it's like there are certain systemic things, sure, but that's why we have anti-discrimination laws, which overall should be federal, which I'm pretty sure there are federal laws against these things, so it's just about enforcing those. I mean, there's nothing really else to that. I mean, so it's just like if someone legitimately is like, hey, like, that dude is like pretty much on every level economically, financially, this and that, pretty much on the same playing field as me. I just happen to be black in my name or whatever the fuck, and it's like you're not giving me an apartment, but he is or something. It's like, what the fuck? It's like, oh, well, we just don't trust you. It's just like, yeah, sure. Of course it could be like, okay, well, hey, that's kind of discriminatory. But it's not off of privilege. It's because of a systemic problem that, fair enough, still needs to be dealt with. And the thing is, these type of issues, though, are becoming less and less frequent because of these type of things that have been in place, and of course due to a lot of various due to the SJW movement too. I mean, the silver lining behind them is that, I mean, when it comes to people who generally might be racist or whatever, yeah, like to just outright discriminate against someone they don't like based on their color, yeah, they're probably not going to do that openly. The thing is, they're not going to change their ideas, though. That's the problem. Like, and that's the whole fundamental core problem with with SJWism too. Well, not like one of them, but many of problems. But hence why it, that just like saying, oh, we should just like give segregated privileges to one group because they were so. It's like just fuck that shit. It's like just treat everyone just like a fucking person. How about that? Is that a cool idea? Treat a human as a human being because they're a human being. Like, here's a human being, here's a human being, right? Oh, and here's other human beings that happen to be in thumbnails and shit like that, right? Well, obviously these are animated ones. We got some real ones in here, some animated ones, some idea. So it's just like, yeah, one is different than the other. But genetic diversity is cool with those type of things. Like you can have different aspects of genes be represented in different people because of the gene pool that the human species broadly has. So anyway, I'm just getting ahead. I'm just getting too far into myself. We're not even 1 minute into this shit. Let's just listen in a little bit.
I got a loan at a great rate, by the way, and I got the house. Why would a banker not give a loan to someone who met the loan requirements? He doesn't want to make money? I've never heard of such a banker.
Well, whatever.
How about this? You can enter a store and not be looked upon with suspicion, but I, a black person, cannot, except that has never happened to me.
Well, if we're going to use the example that you look very nice and well-dressed and shit, then no shit. But let's be fair here. Now, if you look, the more poor and impoverished and dirty looking you look, regardless if you're black or white, you're just going to look suspicious. Because I've had friends who were white and homeless before, and they were always looked at with suspicion. And if a black person looks like they're just wearing like some big fat hoodie and just like some saggy like sports shorts or some shit with some like, just kind of nonchalantly just kind of browsing around, that to some people that might look suspicious. Now, to me, that doesn't. And just like as I see people like wearing that type of shit all the fucking time, it doesn't matter to me. But, to some people, that will look suspicious to them. And, fair enough. Sometimes those type of people are suspicious as fuck. There are plenty of people that are run down, scroggly looking, And for anecdotal experience, I actually see more white people being, suspicious thieving fucks more so than black people around here. That's just my personal anecdotal experience. So so it's just like this whole, it really depends on the individual and the region you're from. If you're in an area that has been over the generations and in present day been pretty more racial leaning, then yeah, they might look on you with some suspicion, be like, I don't know if you're trustworthy, boy. It's just like, sure, that's going to happen in some parts in the U.S. Now, it doesn't happen all the fucking time, and it doesn't happen everywhere. Like I just said, there's more, more crime from white people around here than anyone else, really. And where I live, it's actually more mixed with Latinos and whites, and more so than with blacks and shit here. And overall, it's generally white people getting arrested for petty crimes and shit. So, at least around here, it doesn't seem to matter on race, but in other places, it probably does due to systemic problems within the police department and probably just within the community itself. Just being more socially just insensitive about minorities and shit or whatever the fuck. I mean, but again, that it just depends on the fucking place. To say that, every fucking black person is looked with suspicion is just ridiculous. And to say that every black person has never been looked on suspicious is just equally as ridiculous. It depends on the fucking individual. And it's not always black people that get this, that get that same type of look of suspicion. I mean, shit, I've been looked on with suspicion, and I don't even look that, ragged out. I just have long hair, and I'm tall. So, and if I'm wearing a hoodie especially, I'm going to look at least somewhat suspicious, because people will be like, you're kind of a tall, hoodie-wearing dude with long hair. What are you up to? It's like, even I've gotten it before. And I'm like a dude that generally is just like, I'm just minding my own business. It's like, I'm just at the store to grab a few things. That's all. See ya. It's just like, I mean, that happens, but shit, every now and then, I'll get this, one person that just kind of looks at me like, I don't know about you. And the funny thing is, I work at the fucking store, so it's just like any random Joe Schmo looking at me weirdly has literally nothing to worry about. If anything, I'm more likely to help the person out even off the fucking clock than, be weird. Anyway, again, getting, totally sidetracked from the broader fucking video. It's probably going to happen a lot, honestly. Let's just be fair.
But if I was a young dude with my pants hanging down to my butt, I could understand why the store owner would be concerned.
Well, okay, I guess on a broad level, I was just talking about that. But the thing is, that goes to anybody. And also, that doesn't necessarily equate you to being a suspicious, gang-banging thug or whatever the fuck. I've seen, like I said, I've seen plenty more white people try to act like this around here, more so than anyone else. At least around my local area. So it's just, I mean, I don't know. This, it's basically like saying, oh, for example, let's say there's, a small, Muslim minority community or whatever the fuck. They're just, American Muslims. They're, far more culturally Western Americanized than outright Salafist Saudi Arabian Islamism or whatever the fuck, a total polar opposite from the literalists of Islam, just follow me here. But whoa, don't want to drop that. But fucking splint, I swear to God. Anyway, let's say there's a small, American Muslim community, and some of them, not all of them, just a couple of them might, wear a hijab or have a turban or, something that culturally will say, hey, I happen to be Muslim or whatever the fuck. It's just not, and of course, that's why I say I'm not everyone. There will be some that within that community that just are casual and just don't give a shit. And then there'll be the one that, and then let's say there's a couple, and one of them's just get out in all hijab, full thing going on. And the dude's got the full garb going on too. Just a total, opposite from just casual, I'm going to wear a t-shirt and a cool looking hat or something or whatever the fuck, and some jeans and shit, get myself some shawarma at the local deli or something. I don't know. Like, fuck. It's just like, I mean, a total difference. To the people that look at the people wearing the full get up and shit, to some people, that's just going to look suspicious. I mean, especially when it comes to in current geopolitical climate right now, when it comes to Islamic terrorism and the refugee crisis in Europe. So, I mean, even though those same people might have the same cultural ideas and views, etc., as just the other people that are being more casual with what they're wearing, it's just that they happen to be more open about what, their attire and their cultural garb or whatever the fuck. Pretty much the main difference between, like, this tiny little group. It's like some of them are going to, wear traditional garments and shit, and the other ones aren't. So, it's like, to some people, no matter what, depending on how they look, they're just going to look suspicious. And that's just because of how some people subjectively interpret what is suspicious and what is, like, questionable. Like, people subjectively have different views on that. Like, some people, when they see someone wearing, like, their pants, sagging down or whatever the fuck, they're not going to, think twice about it. And for some people, that just will look suspicious. It's a subjective thing. It's pretty much the whole fundamental thing I'm trying to say. It's very subjective.
I used to be a cop. Believe me, I understand. If I owned a store, I'd be tracking that kid too, whether he was black, white, or anything else.
I mean, just based on his appearance. All right. So this is where the issues start popping up for me. Just because someone looks like that, I just couldn't give a fuck less. Like, if they are acting suspicious, like, all right, it's like appearance is one thing, but if they got like a backpack and they're like kind of half it off to their side a little bit and they're just kind of like looking around and kind of looking at the aisles, kind of seeing what looks good, yeah, then there will be some suspicion. And obviously there's no problem tracking someone like that, whether they're black, white, or anything else, like you said. But the thing is, it's appearance is one thing, actions are another. Like, so just because, like I said, someone's wearing like a Muslim full garb, like I was talking about with my analogy earlier, like, no, like, just because they're wearing that doesn't mean they're going to be like some terrorist ready to blow their fucking chest open with a fucking bomb or whatever the fuck, you know what I mean? Like, that's just, if anything, that's extremely hyperbolic. So, I mean, you can't, like, think about like all the like when I'm in downtown Portland, not like where I am locally, but like in just downtown Portland, like with all the dudes in business suits and shit walking around and stuff, like how, like, for me and my own bias, I just assumed they probably have like a little hit of cocaine in their pocket. I'm not even kidding. I genuinely think that way, because if the fucking bankers and elites on Wall Street do it, you think the fucking same motherfuckers over here are doing the same shit? Yeah, of course they are. Maybe it might not be every single one of them, but I have my suspicions. Again, it's a subjective taste on what suspicion is. Because to me, if I look at some dude in a nice fancy business suit going into the fucking Bank of America or whatever the fuck, or, the big, one of the towers and shit that are in Portland, going in there doing their business or whatever the fuck they're doing, yeah, I'm going to think they probably got a little bit of coke or something to, perp them up a little bit during the day, because they got the money for that shit. And they can get away with it because they got the wealth, the privilege of wealth, to do that. Because if you caught a black dude doing some coke, what's going to happen to him? Or if you catch a white guy doing some coke just on the street, what's going to happen to him? Oh, he's just going to be thrown into prison. But if a rich if just a rich guy, just in general, just flat out, just a rich guy on Wall Street let's get more a little narrowed down on Wall Street. Oh, just give a couple grand to the police department and be hush hush about it. That's how they get away with it. They just do hush money. They will bribe, and they have the influence and the power, and they got the police in their fucking pocket. Think it's the same way anywhere else? Think it's the same way in the same bumblefuck town in Alabama or wherever the shit? Yeah.
Or what if I had a store that had a history of being shoplifted by young black women, and a young black woman with a bad attitude walked in? Would I be suspicious? Yeah, I would.
Okay, what? All right, hold on. Okay, I know what he's talking. It's just basically, like kind of taking the same argument I was. Like if someone's, if there's a history of, certain people with, certain attributes about these people. Like, I guess for this example, young black woman, you know? But to me, it was just like more of their actions and behaviors. So it's like if one comes in with a bad attitude, which what does that even mean in the first place? Are they just all pissed off and just like disgruntled because they had a bad day, or are they just like what? And also, this doesn't even really make sense as an analogy, because if you're going to be in there stealing some shit and trying to rob the place, wouldn't you try to be a little on the down low? Like, kind of walk in nonchalant, kind of look at, the checkout area, see who's manning it, see what's going on, and just do your thing. Like, I've seen my fair share of people straight up shoplifting and shit, and I know how it goes. And people are not coming in with a bad attitude. So, I mean, your whole example is just fucking stupid. Like, this doesn't work, honestly. Because with my personal anecdotal experience, and to be fair, not every single people stealing shit around around the stores or around here are all fucking white, but I've seen my fair share of all sorts of different people of all sorts of different backgrounds trying shit. And they don't even, and sometimes it's not even trying to outright steal shit. Sometimes they're just trying to fucking jip you over some loopholes. Like, oh, hey, I want to do a catering order, but oh, you fucked it up, so I want you to do it for free or something like that. And they have like 40 fucking people and they want to do it on a certain day. And if they can't get it on that exact time, they want, discounts or this and that. So it's just like, I mean, I'm not even kidding. There's like literally a whole family of gypsies around here. I don't know where they live, but they are around here, and they will like order absurd amount of food and just like want it at a certain date and time. If they don't, they want discounts and try to like, be cheap about it. And it's not because they're fucking gypsies. It's that they're just con artists. Like, not every, like, it's literally only like a couple of them in the group. Like, most of them are just there, just wanting to pick it up and just have a good time and eat their fucking food and do whatever they're doing. But there's like a couple who like, there's like a hierarchy within them. Like, there's like there will be like one or two heads or maybe three that will like orchestrate, the connery, and then everyone else probably has no awareness to it, and it's just like, oh sweet, we got like, a big feast planned up, hell yeah. And then the people planning it are actually trying to find a way to get it the most cheap, swindly way possible. But to be fair, I see that all the fucking time, regardless if they're gypsy or not. So again, it's just like, I don't know, like to say like literally there's like a specific demographic based on race over the shit. Yeah, that can be that. Sure, that's a thing. But to say that like every single person that walks in like that, whether they have a bad attitude or attribute to all those attributes, that are suspicious, doesn't mean that person will probably be doing that shit. So I don't know. Again, it just kind of goes back into the whole thing about it being subjective on what you think is suspicious or not.
Who wouldn't? I call that common sense, not bigotry.
I wouldn't really call it common sense. I'll just call it you critically thinking about what this person might be doing and thinking, suspicious? All right, well, I'll kind of keep an eye on you and see what you're doing. And if I think you're going to continue to be suspicious and you're not here to check out and get your food, or do whatever you're getting, get what you're getting and check out whatever, it's like, then I got my eye on you. Like, that's just being aware of your surroundings and aware of the individual. That's just awareness. It's not common sense, that's awareness. And also, I do it too. I'm pretty guilty of it, but I really hate it when people fucking say it's common sense. I've been really trying hard to refrain from using that, because everyone has their own personal idea of what common sense is. And realizing that, I'm like, oh, all right, I should probably stop using this as like just a rundown way of explaining shit. So that, so it's like, if it's common sense, all right, well, what about it makes it that way, and it's just like, at least in my mind, instead of using common sense, just explain why, it makes sense. Like saying, I say that makes sense, and saying I call that common sense will actually sound better. Like just outright, it would just generally sound better. And it's not necessarily bigotry. So, I mean, it is if you literally look at every fucking black woman with an attitude, or just any black woman in general walking in and just like searching them down or whatever the fuck, doing a pad down, before they check out or something. Yeah, that would be kind of bigotry or bigoted. But like, just to say like, oh, there's some people that might be suspicious and predominantly happen to be this group. And if there's someone from that group acting suspicious, I'm going to keep an eye on them. Like, no shit. That's just being aware of your surroundings and making sure no one's trying to steal your shit in your shop.
But there's another way of looking at this. In many ways, in today's America, blacks have more privilege than whites.
I just reject that outright because, like I said at the beginning of this, I don't think there's fucking privilege within race. So I just reject this entirely. Whatever is being said about this, I'm just going to reject it. I just do.
It's been my experience that whites bent over backwards to give blacks every possible advantage. If two people are equally qualified for a job, the black person will usually get it. Big companies and prestigious universities.
I just reject this. Like, I just reject all of this as just from the literal premise from the start. Like, I'm tempted to just skip it. Like, like I said, like, I don't believe privilege comes from fucking race. So, yeah, some universities or some jobs are, generally based on like systemic discriminatory laws and stuff are going to be like, yeah, well, accept it to this other person, whatever, because they might be more qualified or they just fought harder to get that job position. Like, it's not just, quote, race that plays into these things. Like, it's their personality, it's the charisma of the person themselves trying to get that position. It's, how they look, on appearance, like, from before. It's a lot of different variables. And if you basically play right into the stereotypes of, of the negative stereotypes, especially of of just whatever your group is or whatever the fuck, chances are you're not going to have that, quote, privilege. Because you're not, because if you're looking like you're a scrawny, raggedy looking fuck, that's all like ripped coated, just like scraggly and just like meh. Like, yeah, you're just like got the trope of like got your, pants hanging down like towards your knees and shit. You're just like, what's up, Bobby? Yeah, man. It's like, you want deuce, bro? You want fight, bro? Or whatever the fuck. It's just like, come on. Like, yeah, you're going to potentially have a bigger disadvantage on trying to get those positions than compared to someone who's genuinely trying to be like, all right, I want to look nice so I can get, for this interview, so I can get into this university or this job or whatever. Like, that just applies to anybody. And like I was saying from before, too, are there still some companies or still some CEOs or positions or jobs or, ways of getting into universities and shit that still have some systemic forms of discrimination in this way? Sure. But, again, the frequency of that being a thing is dropped and is dropping. And it's not as happening as much anymore. Hence why the ridiculous statement of blacks have more privilege because they're on a more they're starting to have a more equal playing field now. Not entirely, not 100%, and it's not just blacks that are getting a little bit more towards that equal playing field, but there's plenty of there's still plenty of work to be done to just not just black people, but just anybody in general to get that equal playing field of just like, hey, let's have, the equal, not the opportunity, the equal opportunity, just equality of opportunity, not the outcome, because, we can't have equal outcome for everybody, but to at least have an opportunity for people to seek the outcome that they want, or at least get as close to that outcome that they want, within means, then sure. It's like, that should be applied for anybody, regardless. I don't care who you are. Like that, it's like if you qualify to do something and you want to do it and you are good at doing it, whole nine yards, whole shebang. Sure, cool. Let's get it. Let's do it. You're on the job, bro. But if you fuck up, you end up not being, good at what you do and end up being like, oh shit, you lied or were fraudulent or just, end up not being good for the job. And it's like, all right, well, just move you around or we'll have to let you go or whatever. So I don't know. It's just like, it's just because of the very premise I have just such a problem with this.
These fall all over one another trying to sign up talented black people. If you deny this, You are denying reality.
Okay, I guess I deny reality then because I rejected this premise from the start. So I guess I deny reality now. Yay. Post-truth world. Oops. There we go.
This is what the person who dreamed up this whole thing did. A professor of women's studies at Wellesley College by the name of Peggy McIntosh. She wrote in an article in 1988 about all the white privilege she thought she had. She listed 46, including this one. I can choose bandages and flesh color and have them more or less match my skin. Wow, that's some kind of privilege.
You list a list of 46 and you used the example of that. There was 46 examples and you used this one. Really? I'm pretty sure you're just trying to undermine this whole list in general. I don't even know what the list says or whatever it is, but like, come on. For real? Like, really? I can choose bandages and flesh color and have them more or less match my skin. Sure. And honestly, like, why? At the end of the day, I literally don't care. But for people that do, for some reason, advocate for flesh color being like a multicolored thing or something, and be like, here's like flesh colors. It's like here's all like the quote flesh colors, of like just the different human, skin tone colors or whatever the fuck, just I don't know. It's like if people are like, oh, I want to pick the black band-aids because it fits better with my skin or something. It's like, okay, more power to you, I guess. Cool, I don't care. I'll pick whatever. I'll just pick bandages because they're bandages. Like they're utilitarian that way. Like, why not just make bandages just literally just white, just like pure, just like snowflake white, and no one has to bitch. You know what? Pink. Fuck it, just pink, fleshy pink. Why not that? Just no arguments. Pink, because on the inside of us all, there's a nice little dibble dabble of some pinkness. You know what I mean? So why not just that? Fuck. Stop it.
My skin. Wow, that's some kind of privilege.
I know, right?
Soon others took up the cause. Today, these so-called progressives dominate our colleges and universities, imposing this absurd notion of white privilege on their students. That's too bad because it does nothing good for white students.
I mean, I went to a community college, and I'm in a pretty predominantly liberal area. Like, I'm in Oregon. So, for me personally, anecdotally, did I see things about like, oh, like here's like some Black Lives Matter or like some, like gender studies thing? Yeah, it was there. But it wasn't like literally like flooding the universities en masse or whatever the fuck. Like I never saw it like outright flood shit. I never saw it like outright be like this like propaganda like spout out on every wall, like, or something. It just wasn't like that. And I mean, so I don't know. Like, I mean, if that's what's happening, I never personally outright experienced it. I mean, I saw it, but it never like outright was just like, how dare you, or something for being white. Like no one has ever approached me like that whenever for the experience I was in college and shit. I've never had that happen. I've never seen any white dude or black dude get at someone for being white or a white dude being nagged at for being white. I've never had that happen to me. Like that. So, like, I know it has happened before because there obviously is video evidence that's happened that, the right likes to kind of pick out and be like, see, this is what happens on a daily basis, and shit. And, there are definitely, like, shit like gender studies classes and this and that. Yeah, it's there. I'm not going to deny that. But to say that it's, like, literally flooding every fucking university and, like, flooding, like, the trends of education is bullshit, honestly. Maybe for some universities, or some colleges, but it's not an absolute. So I'm just speaking from anecdotal experience. I can't say for like, anyone else or like anything else specifically because I don't know. I just haven't seen it myself. I personally just don't give a fuck about this shit, so it never has affected me. It seems like the only people that this shit truly affects is people that for some reason give enough of a fuck about it to make a big hoopla over it. Like, oh, these privileges and shit. It's just like, and it's based off of like these these things that historically happened. Like, oh, blacks were slaves in America and shit. So thus, we deserve these things and this and that or whatever. It's just like, look, I mean, especially for my ancestors, like they literally had nothing to do with that shit. And to be like, oh, I need to as a group now or as a person, need to pay for that for some reason is ridiculous. Same thing, as to why, like, oh, we should be like, giving specific privileges for, black people because, oh, of X, Y, and Z because of historical past reasons and shit like Jim Crow or whatever the fuck. It's like, how about we just make it better for everybody? Instead of, for us, just treat it more like a blank slate of like, hey, we're all fucking people. We all obviously got different political positions and views and shit. Let's cherish that to an extent, and be like, hey, let's fucking, just hash out these ideas. Because I have no problems with, having these classes or this and that. It's just like, at least at the college I was at, no one made that big of a fucking deal over it. It was there, but no one made a huge fucking hoopla over it. And it seems like the only people that care that much are the ones who make a big fucking hoopla. I mean, I've never taken a class personally, so I don't know what, like, they were teaching and shit in there. They could have been just like, oh, here, we're going to study just gender, here's the, or it's just like, here, we're going to expand on the theories, and then, like, here's, like, the 89 billion gender. It's like, I don't know what they were teaching, but either way. Getting, again, sidetracked from the point once more.
And it does nothing good for black students. But of the two, ironically, the white students get the better of the deal. Let me explain.
It does no good for white or black students, but the whites get the better end of the deal. Let me explain. Whatever matrix gymnastics you're going to do, I don't know if it's going to work.
To acknowledge your white privilege is supposed to make you feel bad. Only it doesn't. It makes you feel good because by acknowledging your white privilege, you're declaring yourself to be enlightened.
Huh? What? To acknowledge your white privilege makes you feel good, declaring yourself enlightened. No, what? I am literally, like, outright confused.
And as a virtue bonus, it also makes you a better person than those whites who don't acknowledge their privilege.
No?
White privilege, which is supposed to make you feel bad, ends up making you feel good. Meanwhile, the real damage is to blacks. What makes whites feel good makes blacks angry. More than 50 years after the civil rights movement, the message is, you're still oppressed. How can this not create a victim mentality? And anyone of any color who sees himself as a victim gets angry. Now, I wouldn't deny for a second that there are privileges in life. They're all over the place.
Okay, sure.
There's two-parent family privilege. That's huge. There's being lucky to be born in America privilege.
Okay, whatever. All right, now we're starting to get into the subjectivity of what's privilege or not. I don't think it's a privilege to be born in America.
There's good gene privilege.
Good gene privilege? I guess I don't even care.
But white privilege? Doesn't it depend on the person? Let's take this for example. A black lawyer and his wife have a baby, and a meth addict, single white woman has a baby. Which kid has privilege?
Obviously the lawyer and his wife. No shit. Because the white kid who's going to be living in a single household, meth addict mom, is going to have a lot of deficiencies socially, economically, mentally, cognitively. Like, it's pretty... This is why the whole idea of racial privilege is fucking dumb. Because if they were both white, it wouldn't matter. Because obviously the one on the right would still have far less privilege because of their economic social status. While the one over here will always have more privilege due to their economic social status. generally because they're going to have a bit more wealth because they're a lawyer, and also more wealth overall because their wife probably has a job position as well and has money invested and stuff like that. While obviously a single white or just a single mom who's addicted to meth is not going to have any of that or have no outlet to get towards those means, or very limited outlets to get to those means. So it's a no shit argument that the one on the left here, the lawyer and the wife, whether they're black or not, is going to have the privilege.
The white one? Because he's white? Come on now.
Come on now.
And here's the kicker. Even if it were true, all those claims about white privilege, so what? Would it change a single thing I did? If white people apologize for being white, is that supposed to help me? In what way? So let's be real. White privilege is an attempt by the left to divide Americans by race.
But isn't that what you're kind of doing? You're literally just, I mean, yes, but you're literally enabling more of this fucking argument and debate, which I'm also kind of complicit in on using this as more as a divide. But at least I'm coming through with the argument of like, hey, maybe we should just disregard these whole idea of racial privileges and look at more of the social economic privilege of wealth and shit. Because I think that's where, there's a privilege that could be argued about. So this idea that, like, it's just the left is ridiculous, for one. It's on both sides of the argument. But I don't know. It's just ridiculous. This notion of just racial privilege to me is just ridiculous. And the idea that the left is the only ones that do it is also ridiculous. Like, people on the right will, like, at least, nationalists who are like, oh, blacks are a little inferior, you know what I mean? Because they got those, the skull size and this and that. It's just like, that's the same fucking racial divides that are being exacerbated. Only it's on the right instead of the left. So it's on both ways of the fucking argument. And I think it's ridiculous either way. It should be disregarded and thrown into trash as ridiculous, stupid ideas. And yeah, this whole just racial privilege argument, just fuck it. It's ridiculous. It's stupid. And it really deflects from the true actual problems as to why there may be systemic issues, as to why maybe one group of people versus another group of people have more opportunities or not. Because I think there is a more fundamental root to this shit instead of they're black or they don't be white or whatever the fuck. So I say to you, Prager, come on now. But they're propaganda outlet peddling bootlickers, so I don't think they're going to just come on now with that shit, you know what I mean? Anyway. A little longer than the last one, but I think it was merited. I mean, I feel like I could have gone on a little longer and maybe delved into more examples of this conversation, but I think I'll just leave it out here. This is only like, 30 seconds, less than 30 seconds left of the video. I don't think we're going to be missing anything else out of this. Honestly, I'm kind of done with Prager now. I had another one lined up, but I don't even want to bother with it. I don't even want to, oh my god, I got to stretch. Ugh, good old stretches. I love how just Senile Tomat just bounces to the rhythm of life. So fucking beautiful. So beautiful. Alright, well, I'll smoke the bowl I meant to smoke at the beginning of this, but never did. So I'm going to do that now and wrap it up for y'all. And I think I'll do my other PragerU video tomorrow instead, because just I don't even want to deal with it right now. I had my fill of Prager. I was tempted to do another one on, I think they had something on abortion, but I was just like, you know what, no. Like 2 was enough, but I realize it's 1. It was just 1 video. The greatest privilege is being born in America with 2 parents. I don't even think that's true. Because I have both my parents still, and I have a lot of quote privileges that that other people have that I don't. So, I think that's bullshit, because I don't think there's an inherent privilege over like, oh, you're born of, like you're born in America or born here or born there or wherever. It's just like, no, like, yeah, there might be some, like there's marginal privilege with having two parents, there's definitely a marginal increase of privilege there, but it's not like, but you yourself are not like inherently privileged over it. It's because your parents were lucky enough to basically be like, hey, I love you enough to stay with you and raise this kid with you, and I'm willing to commit to this shit. So, and a lot of people, especially in America, they don't even consider that. So, I don't know. Anyway, smoke this bowl and call it good. Or at least I'll attempt to light this lighter with a splint arm. Fuck. Okay, can I? Got it. Yes, I did it. I still got mobilization within my thumb and my first two fingers. I still can mobilize. Still got it. Damn, I really needed that at the beginning of this. I don't know why I didn't do that, but whatever. Anyway, hit the bell, subscribe, do the usual shit. And of course, I shall see y'all in the next one. Deuces. Stop.